I caused a lot of chaos a couple of nights ago when I did my SEC predictions and I had Alabama winning the conference for the second straight year in a row, going 11-1. And of course, you had the people coming at me who were disagreeing with my prediction of Alabama winning the SEC again, saying that, man, they just lost Nick Saban and they're replacing him with this West Coast guy named Kalen DeBoer. You guys continue to underrate Kalen DeBoer and disrespect this man. This was the best replacement that Alabama could have hired to replace the greatest head coach in college football history. Everywhere Kalen DeBoer has been, he's won. He was winning national championships at his alma mater when he was coaching NAIA football. He was successful at Fresno State. When he got to Washington in 2 years, he took that program from the pits of about to be irrelevant under Jimmy Lake when he damn near ran the Huskies football program into the ground and saved it, led them to a national championship, something that Chris Peterson was never able to do in the span of 2 years, and didn't lose more than 3 games, including beating Oregon and Dan Lanning twice. If he can win at Washington in that short amount of time, imagine what he can do at Alabama with them still having a top 5 roster. Not everybody transferred out of Alabama when Nick Saban retired. Y'all keep thinking about Caleb Downs, Isaiah Bond, and a few other players that left, but there is still a lot of talent from Nick Saban's regime that still is on that roster. Malachi Moore is one of the best defensive backs in America. Jalen Milroe is one of the best quarterbacks returning going into this season. A lot of people view him as a legitimate Heisman contender. Do you not know how disgusting Jalen Milroe is going to be this year under Kalen DeBoer? What did Washington's offense do so well last year? Michael Penix and those receivers were fantastic at generating big plays in the vertical passing game. Jalen Milroe throws the deep ball more accurately than he throws short and intermediate passes. Tommy Rees was not a good offensive coordinator. He was mid at best. He kind of somewhat held back Jalen Milroe. Kalen DeBoer knows offense. He's going to find way more innovative ways to utilize Jalen Milroe's unique skill set. You're going to see way more designed quarterback runs, and you're going to see Jalen Milroe become a more polished passer in 2024 than what he was last year. It's also going to help that you don't have Seth McLaughlin fucking up the snaps anymore. In Alabama this season, what people are overlooking is how good their offensive line is going to be. What Alabama's biggest struggle has been on offense the last 3 years has been their inconsistent offensive line play. They should have a top 10 offensive line going into this season. They do lose a lot on defense, but you've recruited so well on that side of the ball, and you do have a really defensive coordinator who Kalen DeBoer hired, that defense shouldn't have too big of a drop-off. Alabama is still one of the top 5 most talented teams in college football. And you pair that up with the head coach that was able to win a Pac-12 title, lead Washington to the national championship in the span of 2 years, where they had a roster that was outside of the top 10, top 15 from a talent standpoint. Imagine what Kalen DeBoer can do with more resources, with a more talented squad. He already, to me, is the second best head coach in college football, right behind Kirby Smart. Another reason why I love Alabama to win the SEC this year is that they got a very favorable schedule. Their biggest games are on the road against Wisconsin. That's a W. You got to host Georgia at home. You know that Alabama is Kirby's kryptonite. Every time he sees Alabama, Georgia always struggles to win those games. On the road against Tennessee and Rocky Top, that's winnable. Missouri at home, that's winnable. LSU on the road in Death Valley, I love Kalen DeBoer over Brian Kelly. And then you got to go on the road to play Oklahoma. How many potential losses do you see on Alabama's schedule this year? I can't see any more than 1 or 2 at best. Kalen DeBoer is a prodigy as a head coach. I don't think enough of you Southern people understand just how good Kalen DeBoer is. But the reason why I've been talking about this dude so much, every move that he's made, even recruiting, you guys know that I don't talk too much about recruiting, but I have talked about it a lot in terms of covering Kalen DeBoer at Alabama, because the big thing that people were saying about him when Alabama first hired him was that, wow, he ain't from the South. He's a West Coast guy. He's coming down to the South. He don't really have any pipelines down here. He's not going to be able to recruit well in Alabama. Alabama has the second or third best recruiting class in the nation. What excuse are you going to use against Kalen DeBoer next? What I'm about to say, it's what a lot of Alabama fans feel, but they're afraid to say it because they feel like it's too early. But I really believe that Kalen DeBoer is going to be the second coming of Nick Saban. I'm not tripping when I say that. I'm not joking. I really believe it. This brother has won everywhere he's been. If you can win 3 national championships at the NAIA level, you can win anywhere. If you can turn Washington around in a span of 2 years and lose no more than 3 games, you can win anywhere. It doesn't matter if you are coaching in the Pac-12 or the Sun Belt. If you're a good coach, you're a good coach. You know how to win everywhere you go. And the fact that Kalen DeBoer can win without having to spend $20 million and NIL money on the roster to do so shows you that he's a great strategist. He's a great game manager coach where he knows how to make in-game adjustments, and he knows how to tailor his scheme and his philosophy based off the talent that he has in place. They got a great running back room. They're stacked at receivers. Alabama is stacked all across the board at every position. You keep on sleeping on Kalen DeBoer, and he's going to continue to prove you wrong, like how he already has done in recruiting. It doesn't matter if it's not National Signing Day yet. Most of these guys are going to remain committed because, for one, it's Alabama, and for two, they know how good of a coach Kalen DeBoer is. I trust Kalen DeBoer more than I trust Steve Sarkisian, Brian Kelly, Lane Kiffin, or any other head coach in the SEC other than Kirby Smart, because he has won with less when most of these coaches continue to say, we need more of this, we need more talent, we aren't getting enough funding or resources to get the blue chip guys that we need to compete. You didn't hear Kalen DeBoer making excuses at Washington, did you? His first 2 years there, didn't lose anything more than 3 games. That is astonishing. And him coming to Alabama and Tuscaloosa was the best move that Alabama could have made to replace the GOAT. Alabama's going to win the SEC this year for the second consecutive year in a row. I don't see why it's that big of a hot take. They still are the second, third most talented team in this conference, depending on who you want to put over them. If you want to say Georgia and Texas are more talented, cool, but they still are good enough to win this thing, and they're good enough to win the national championship this year. And with Jalen Milroe at the helm at quarterback under Kalen DeBoer's tutelage, y'all better be really afraid if you got to play Alabama this year, because the Tide are going to continue to roll under Kalen DeBoer. I don't think the Alabama dynasty is going to be going anywhere anytime soon as long as Kalen DeBoer remains in Tuscaloosa.